Secrets of the Sire. You can always go to secretsofthesire.com or siredigital.com. Tonight, the best comic book summer blockbusters of all time. My interview with rocker Ben Folds, and we go spinning the racks. Got a great Game of Thrones / Star Wars story to chat about. I am your host, Michael Dolce, alongside my co-host, Mr. Hassan Godwin, Lord of the Radio. How are you doing, sir?
You know what?
It's Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
These short weeks used to actually be great for me. I used to love short weeks. That's the one thing they don't teach you when you start working for yourself and you work in a capacity that you actually enjoy. Long weekends when you're working a miserable job is like the greatest thing on the planet. For me, it's actually just one more day that I didn't get any work done, and now I have a problem that I have to do because I am my own boss, and that's a great thing. But I'm also just exhausted running around after the kids. So
there are no short weeks, really. When you're freelancing, because every day is an opportunity. Every day is a day you're not doing something.
Right.
You know, no matter what time you take off to do anything, it's a day that you could be doing something else. You know?
Exactly. No, exactly. But whatever. The work is paying off. We are growing our subscriber base on YouTube. I'm very excited. That was our initiative. Well, it's good.
Supposed to talk about that, man.
No, but it's okay. I'm lifting the curtain. We're trying to get more people on there.
You gotta be cool, though, man. You gotta be like, man, we don't care about.
No, I care. I really care.
Smash that like button if you want, but.
But here's the only downside to it, right? So we have some added exposure on YouTube. We're getting more thumbs down. I can't even say it. I don't like that. I only want people that affirm how good we are. I don't want to deal with people that do not think we're good.
Our dislike to like ratio is underwater. Is that what you're saying?
On one of our videos, and it was very disheartening. Very disheartening. I'm very sensitive.
You mention which video that is, then.
I'm very fragile, and I don't want to. I'm assuming they're thumbing down you.
Yes, of course.
But still, So it's
By the way, what are the comments like? Have you read the comments? You shouldn't, though. By the way.
Well, one was used some foul language, so I removed the client. I removed it.
And you're admitting to actually removing.
Yeah, we're we can't Bing a comment.
Listen, man, this is the YouTube, man. You gotta be like, you gotta not care. It's how you get a girl in the old days, right? You used to treat them bad, and they used to come around. They used to like you more.
Yeah. You
were neglectful and you ignored them. That's how you got to do this whole social media thing.
I'm usually very good about it, but there is just, it's funny. Someone could walk up to me to my face and tell me like I am the worst creator they've ever met. I'm terrible. I'm boring. And I'd be like, okay with it. But some anonymous guy leaves it. That's it. That's no.
They didn't even have the courage of confrontation.
That's where the buck stops right there.
Wait, so at the convention, someone's come up to you and said, "Oh my God, you're the worst creator I've ever seen."
No, actually, usually they're pretty. They're all they're all kind of pussies, and even if they didn't like it, they're not gonna say anything.
That's why I usually try to confront people, face to face, because obviously, look at me.
All right, we'll go on to our YouTube channel /Secrets of the Sire. If you're watching us on Facebook, we love you.
Smash that like button.
Comment on Facebook. We still love it. We're not neglecting Facebook. We're just trying to expand and make money and expand. So it's good. All right. Tonight's
show.
Call
to action. Go do what we tell you.
Yes, it is. All right. Big week ahead. Finally, we actually, it's funny. We've had a lot of big events. We had Endgame come out. That took up a lot of our time.
Took up a lot of oxygen.
In a good way, right? In a good way. It's a lot of positive stuff to talk about, a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. So, really great to have that kind of content. Followed up immediately by Game of Thrones, actually like simultaneously crisscrossing Game of Thrones.
Which then took up way more oxygen than Endgame. Endgame almost seems like a blip.
Yes.
The reaction to Game of Thrones.
Yes.
That was pretty substantial.
Yes. So, but again, just very heavy stuff. So this week we actually have a nice little lull. The Game of Thrones fire has ended.
Except for the fact that Kit Harington is in rehab.
Apparently he does not deal with comments well either.
Oh, yes, I guess not. He's not. out of a job since his Game of Thrones money is not coming in anymore. So.
Ironically, we deal with our negative comments the same way, though. But he just took it to an excess. See? So.
Yes. Well, we will. The more negative comes
true.
in, the more excessive will become.
That's true. But yeah, so that's got, and now we have this like week in between where we've got nothing going on, and we've Godzilla coming up next week. A review, I can, the reviews are out, mostly positive. This review from AP, for example, Godzilla is back and doing just fine. It's a low bar, sure, but at least Godzilla is comfortable with its place in the blockbuster ecosystem. It's a sequel in the loosest possible sense that requires
minimal. Why would they describe it as a low bar? That's kind of...
Well, so here's what is the... Here's the paragraph itself. But Godzilla King of Monsters is a sequel in the loosest possible sense that requires minimal recall from the audience, which is likely a good thing for those whose brains have been overloaded with Game of Thrones, Avengers, and Star Wars, minutia and mythology. Worry not, Godzilla is here to provide some old-fashioned summer spectacle, no cliff notes required. It's a low bar, sure, but at least Godzilla is comfortable with its place in the blockbuster ecosystem. So it's basically saying, you're going to go in, you're going to expect some monsters to thrash each other up. You're going to expect some really loud noises, some really great CGI, and you're going to walk away exactly happy because you got exactly what you're looking for. And it got me thinking.
That's what they mean by low bar, though.
Oh, I bet you were.
It's not like they're talking about the quality of the last movie. It's like this movie has to beat the quality of the last movie, which is a low bar.
No, it has to beat the low. It's a low bar in the sense of
what to expect. It has to meet the expectation.
Right.
The level of expectation. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we will review Godzilla next week on our show. So tune in again, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, every Wednesday night. We do this. We also do some additional content as well. So if you are going to hit that subscribe button, that'd be great.
Smash that like button. Smash it.
But yeah, just do it for me, or not do it for me. I don't know.
Yeah, don't do it for me because I'm.
Because
I don't care, man.
You've got it. I know you've got it down pat. You've got your not caring down pat, which I respect. But no, it got me thinking. A lot of these movies now. What is a summer blockbuster anymore? There is no summer blockbuster anymore because people are releasing movies that would traditionally be a summer blockbuster at all different times and all different dates.
There's all the oxygen. You got movies like you got 3 billion. Excuse me, I'm so sorry, America. $3 billion movies like Endgame.
Yeah,
and they come out and they just explode, right?
Yeah.
So there's all this build up before the movie comes out. There's all this hype when the movie is out. There's all this talk about all the other movies this movie's going to beat at the box office after it's out.
Yeah.
So you hear about it like 6 to 7 weeks after it already came out, talking about it's still climbing the charts, it's still conquering the box office.
Right.
So I mean, it's a relay race at this point. It's not. Nobody's talking about. This is the same thing I realize about Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
In the old days, spoiler coming up for Game of Thrones. In the old days, you would see a scene like Bells from the episode of Bells, where Daenerys, pretty much decides to, unleash the hound.
She goes nuclear.
Yeah, exactly. She picks the nuclear option.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And you'd be like,
she pushes the red button.
This is a terrible decision for this character to make.
Mm-hmm.
This is the tragic. This is a tragic turn of a character. This is a terrible turn. But because everything is meta today.
Yeah.
Nothing is we're kind of discouraged from taking any kind of entertainment on its face. We all have to look at everything from a meta perspective, right?
Right.
So now, instead of saying, "Oh man, Daenerys really let us down by making that decision," we just say the writers made a mistake by this character making this decision. The writers killed because they screwed up what should have been something perfect. Right. Because in the meta understanding of things, we consider the writers instead of considering the decisions made by characters as character decisions. That's
a phenomenon that has happened only because we're in a message board culture now, where everyone now has access to a message board called Twitter, called YouTube, called Facebook. Whereas in the past, you would have these discussions, but they'd be locked in this vault known as a message board. And you'd have the exact same vitriol going around. And then you'd have, I don't know, conversations where people were actually in the same room together.
Mhm.
And they'd be like, did you see that? Oh yeah, the writers totally screwed
And
it
then
up.
someone
But it would
just say,
be,
"No, the writers screwed up," and then you'd have someone else go, like, "Come on, man, we're just talking about a
but
show."
the general public, when they talk to each other at the water cooler, they might mention that too. But it would be everything would be contained. It's not contained anymore. So now it just spreads in that sense. But
But I mean, the fact that everything is meta is why we don't have summer blockbusters anymore. Like we're not talking about the movies that we're looking forward to see. We're talking about how our movies did. It's like a day for races. It's like how well our horse ran. It's not really about how good a movie was anymore. It's about
you said races, like okay. I was wondering what was racist about about this.
How would you have a day at the racist?
I don't know. That's why I was Bing. I wasn't sure. Like
it's not a Bing. Racist is not
No, I know. I was very.
All right. You kibosh that discussion. So move on.
So this is what I thought. Let's look back to the previous 25 years. Okay. Actually, no. Sorry. The previous.
I never look back. I look forward.
We're gonna go the previous 30 years. Okay.
That's a long time.
Memorial Day
30 years ago. I'm very young.
Yeah, unfortunately, we both were, and we were going to the theaters to see some.
I don't know what you're talking about, Mr. Dolce.
Memorial Day to Labor Day. Okay, that is the official definition of summer, right?
Right.
So Memorial Day weekend, which changes, and that could be, May.
Which just passed, which we just enjoyed.
Right. Any
summer has officially started.
Right. Any May in the 20s, after like the 22nd, I think it is. It can be Memorial Day weekend. It can officially count. So any May 20 movies to Labor Day, which is the first Monday in September. That's the official definition. 1989 to the present. We are going to rank the best summer comic book blockbusters of all time. So we're going to keep it in our wheelhouse of comic book movies, which is what we are. We're a comic book movie live stream and podcast. And I actually did some research for this. I gotta tell you, this list is not as expensive as you think, right? Because like the immediately what comes to mind? Avengers Endgame, nope, came out in April. Infinity War, nope, came out in early May.
There's been a kind of a trend or study on the fact that Memorial Day is now a graveyard of movies.
Yeah, which is incredible because it used to be like this is where you drop your big summer movie. Go back to 1977, Star Wars, Return of the Jedi. You had these big,
May 25th.
Right, which is these big, huge movies. I even looked to see if the prequels would count in our countdown. They came out before Memorial. They came out the week before Memorial Day.
Yeah,
they both like the 14th.
Well, one of them came out May 19th. I think.
Yeah, it doesn't hit the 20s. I told you anything 20s and above you can count because you just don't know when the Memorial Day weekend officially is. But 19 is a little too early for me. And this list that I got is actually it's long, fellas and gals. Okay, we're gonna. I believe you me. I think we can right off the bat, kind of March Madness style, just start Xing things right off the list, and I don't think we're any worse for it.
Okay.
Some of these though is truly a summer blockbuster. Do you want me to go 1989 or 2018? Where am I starting?
89. Let's start from the beginning.
All right. So 89. The only one I found that would be a comic book movie summer blockbuster. Batman. Tim Burton's Batman. June 19th, 1989.
Which has to be among one of the best, by the way.
Easily among one of the best. Followed up by 1992, Batman Returns. Okay, so again,
wait a minute. They got that out a year later?
No, 3 years.
Oh, 2 years. 3 years. Okay, so 1989. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I do apologize.
Yes. Me fail English? That's unmathable.
Shucks. I got a calculator right here. I'm doing the math.
3 years later, and again, chime in on the Facebook feed if I missed anything. We will respond to your comments and mostly with a oops. But these are the most notable ones that I found actually for comic book movies.
I'll actually make fun of you though.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Batman Forever. Now, in researching this, I found this juicy nugget from the Hollywood Reporter. Batman Forever is actually a surprise hit even to the people who made it. Joel Schumacher came on board after the studio had decided that Batman Returns did not make enough money, even though it made a lot of money, did not make as good as the first Batman. And they were worried about the dark tone of Batman Returns and the weird villains and probably the firecracker down the sewer, as we've kind of mentioned on previous episodes.
Yeah, which is totally out of character.
Right. That it was out of there. So they brought in Joel Schumacher only when he got Tim Burton's blessing. But then he actually said this. They were they ended up making $52 million. Somebody told them before it opened, "Hey, I think you're tracking at $30 million." And the producers all looked at each other going, "What is he on crack? We're not even going to come close. This is going to be a disaster." And it made $52 million its opening weekend. And it wasn't necessarily for a lack of, they didn't say it was for a lack of quality of the film, because I actually enjoy the film. It was the fact that Michael Keaton was supposed to be Batman. He dropped out after Tim Burton dropped out. He got Val Kilmer. Robin Williams was supposed to be Riddler. He dropped out. They got Jim Carrey. But Jim Carrey wasn't a bankable guy when they were filming this yet, because Ace Ventura had come out at the end of '94. So again, they were kind of like, just happened to roll into that one.
Right.
And then get this. This is from Schumacher. After Forever's success, I wanted to do The Dark Knight. It was going to be very dark. I remember going to the set of Face Off and asking Nicolas Cage to play the Scarecrow. The studio, and I'm not sure the audience, was in a frame of mind to go too dark with Batman at the time. So it's interesting how our culture has changed, how the socio-economic political culture makes it absolutely palatable to see Chris Nolan's Batman. For instance, The Dark Knight Rises, which is such a comment on exactly what's happening. You might be able to track that on all the movies. Maybe Batman is one of those things like Pi. It's the center of the universe. But they wanted to actually do. So instead of Batman and Robin, the studio was like, go campier. And he...
Yeah, more neon. We want more neon.
Yeah. And they actually wanted to go the opposite way. Thought that was a fun fact. All right.
So Schumacher is like abdicating blame for that movie. That's basically what he's doing. He's like, that wasn't my fault. The studio came in. They said more neon and butts.
Nipples. We want nipples everywhere.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Now, I didn't include Batman and Robin in our summer blockbuster list.
And thank you.
But because of that, there is a void from 95 to 2000. This is definitely up there on the list. X-Men, July 14th, 2000. And again, remember, wasn't supposed to be this big colossal hit, but what it actually did was kickstart the idea that comic book movies could actually sell. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I mean,
how do we calculate it that wasn't supposed to be a colossal hit? What movie is actually made
according to expectations? Again, we've talked about this before. Expectations are everything in this business. And
yeah, but they're always managed.
It's the Ari Gold. They are managed, but it's the Ari Gold saying, if you're tracking it at 50 and you make 70, great. If you track 50 and you make 30, jump off a bridge, and I have to get that quote to be exact because it's not exactly that, but it's essentially that.
But, it's a little defeating. I mean, and I understand it. I understand the business. I'm not naive about it.
Right.
It is very defeating. It's why we live in a kind of meta universe where everybody blames the filmmakers for bad decisions that characters make. I can understand blaming people for a bad film.
Right.
But blaming writers and directors for bad character decisions.
I think here's the thing. I think there's validity to blaming the writers when the writing pops out. Okay, when all of a sudden it takes you out of what you're watching. Avengers Endgame women's scene. and you sit there and go, that's a writer. Yeah, that's a shout out to my boy David Rosenberg, who had a problem with that. That's okay.
You two guys can have that conversation.
Ironically, we just got more thumbs up on YouTube. Amazing how that works. No, but
that's your crowd.
When it pulls you out of the actual film that you're watching to see something that doesn't strike you as a natural, organic turn or twist for that character, I can see that. I do agree with you also, though, in the sense of Game of Thrones. I think it's a little you can find the evidence there to where.
But you got to understand that the problem with that science or that delineation is that if you're talking about a fantasy show or a fantasy movie where people opening portals and whole armies of people come out of holes in time space. The line between credible and incredible, it can is almost undefinable.
Yeah.
So it's not, you can blame the writers if you want, but when you're already telling you, like, we're going to do time travel, we're going to go back in time and steal these stones from various different timelines.
Spoiler alert.
Please. I didn't tell how it ended, but we're going to go back in time and steal these stones from various different timelines, and we're going to screw those various timelines up, and we're going to use those stones to create to repair the reality that we're living in, regardless of what happens to the realities that we've stolen them from. That's already a suspension of utter logic,
right?
And, so if you're on board with that, like a long time ago, one of my favorite stories, I had a conversation with my uncle. My uncle was a huge comic book fan.
Yeah.
He was talking about the cartoon, like the Superman the animated series, which he watched, well into his 50s, because that's why he was awesome. And, he talked about like Superman and the Flash had a race. He's like, yeah, they're racing each other. What's ridiculous is that at a couple of points in the race, they do these 90-degree turns around these street corners. Can't turn 90 degrees at that speed. I'm like, you don't have a problem with the guy in the cape flying around? And
No, I hate that logic. Come on. The guy in the cape, but that's, I guess, the difference, right, between execution.
But if he's already breaking physics. He's already defied. I'm not even talking about your
true
belief for how ridiculous Superman is.
Right.
But I'm saying within the milieu of Superman.
Yeah. Okay.
He's already there's nothing aerodynamic about a man in a game. So we're already there. So just,
well, are we talking Dean Cain Superman, or are we talking Henry?
No, we're talking Henry Cavill. We're talking about animated Superman, big block chin. He's got all this weight up on top. He should be able to fly. He has to fly upside down.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So I don't understand. I get it. There are some things that are cringy, but you can't really blame the writers, because what cringes you doesn't cringe the guy next to you. And if they're trying to be like we're talking about, where they're trying to be meta, where they're trying to get all of us, I think they do a compromise where they're just going to have a moment. Everyone's going to have a moment in the film that gets them, but the whole film is not going to get everybody. So that's kind of where we are. I'm
trying to actually look up if
you're not even
listening. I missed. No, I stopped listening actually. Because...
Okay. All right. You know what?
I'm trying to do a service to the podcast. podcast.
So was I, because I was giving you my broad, robust intellect, and you're just ignoring it. But that's okay. That's fine. That's what
I was just making sure I didn't omit anything in between the 90s. I was trying to see about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but nope, comes out in March. That was another movie that wasn't supposed to do well. And
your parameters are always too rigid. Like, we always run out of material because you're.
Oh no! There is plenty of material. I literally just want to make sure I am not missing any of these things. But I did my best. I swear.
I do remember the Teenage Ninja Turtles, and I remember how dark the trailer was.
Amazing. I love that.
Trailers were amazing.
Yeah.
But the movie itself was. I love.
No, that movie was awesome.
No, I know. I'm not gonna. Okay. I love the movie.
Yeah.
But the trailer made it look like it was going to be a way different movie.
Oh, okay.
Because it was, as you were talking about Dark Knight.
Yeah.
And this was way before that.
This is 1990.
Yeah. So this was before that. But, and I'm talking about like the Joel Schumacher, the Dark Knight that the studios wanted. He wanted darker, and the studios wanted lighter. And then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because it was low budget, so they had, it's probably. The availability of equipment versus lighting and stuff like that. So they made for a darker movie.
Yeah.
In lighting, in pitch. It was astonishing to us. I was still in high school.
Yeah.
So astonishing to us. It's like, wow, this movie's gonna really be dark. It looks like it's still gonna be it was a family movie.
Still one of the most casual murder scenes of all time, though.
Yeah.
Casey Jones. Oops.
It wasn't really casual, though.
No, but it was. He was just kind of like, oh, look at that. I just killed somebody.
I know. But they showed the Shredder to like for 90 minutes falling off the roof. I mean, they slowed that down. They did it in slow motion of him screaming while he's falling off the roof. Like, that's kind of like watching that now. I was like, I wouldn't let my kid watch this.
Do you know what I just thought of though too?
What's
like,
that?
You know, there are so many times in horror movies we're always like, make sure the bad guy's dead. Like, make sure he's dead. And like Casey Jones actually did that in this movie.
He tried until they made a sequel.
I never really even thought about that. He is doing what we've always preached. Like, just kill him. Just shoot him in the face like 5 times. Pull up his mask.
We're usually yelling that to the James Bond villains, though. He's gonna come back and screw your plans up, man.
Sure.
Haven't you seen a James Bond film? I mean, come on. Like, no, now you're gonna tell him you're gonna tell him the exact inner workings of your plan, and then you're gonna leave him to be elaborately killed by a laser.
Yeah.
This will not work. Come on, dude.
2004. This is going to be up there in the top 3. Spider-Man 2. Dr. Octopus.
That's a Memorial Day movie, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we're not at the point.
Actually, wait, whoa. No. June 30th, 2004 it was released. It is the definition of like a summer blockbuster movie. That is the July.
Memorial Day. Yeah. So.
I have a feeling we're going to be competing Batman movies versus Spider-Man movies versus Batman movies versus Spider-Man movies because there's a lot of.
We haven't gotten to that part yet, though, right?
No. 2005, Batman Begins, June 15th. X-Men Last Stand, May 26, 2006. Well, move along now. Nothing to see.
For the entire X-Men series.
Nothing to see here. Even the first one. I thought the first one was actually it was a.
I know we've had this conversation.
Entry.
We should not retread this conversation, but we've had it.
Go check us out on youtube.com/Secrets of the Sire, and you can see all of our things. Go to secretsofthesire.com. July 18th, 2008, Dark Knight. Incredible Hulk came out that same year, June 13th. That is the Ed Norton version. We're gonna move along from that too, I think.
I like that movie though. That was a decent movie, especially compared to Hulk with Eric Bana.
You know what's funny? I rented Ang Lee Hulk. I rented Ed Norton Hulk, and I could not get through it. I forgot to include, by the way, Ang Lee Hulk in 2003. So we did have Ang Lee Hulk in 2003. So I'm going to add that to my list here. Ang Lee Hulk. I actually liked Ang Lee's Hulk a little bit more than I liked. I couldn't get through Ed Norton's. I just couldn't.
I think you also liked the X-Men, so I mean, that explains a lot.
It took 2 or 3 times, and I still didn't finish it. Every now and again, Incredible Hulk is on HBO, and I can watch it, and I choose not to. I just choose not to. I just couldn't do it. And I love Ed Norton. I thought it was going to be great, and meh. Okay.
But it's not a bad movie. It's just meh. You see what I'm saying? Like, whereas the X-Men movies are bad.
Okay. Brian Everham will fight you on that.
Gauge? Yeah, whatever, Brian.
One day we'll get him on. All right. Skip ahead. Now, again, I was looking up, okay, when did Iron Man come out? Did not come out in the summertime. Thor did not come out in the summertime. The next...
Fear does not exist in this dojo.
The first Marvel movie to come out, and it's not even the first one in that year, though, is Captain America: First Avenger. One of my all-time favorite MCU films. Absolutely loved. I could watch that film a million times.
Captain America: First Avenger?
Yeah. July 19th, 2011.
Right.
It followed up X-Men First Class, May 25th, 2011. So that is an official Memorial Day release for the X-Men films. And that was actually a resurgence of the X-Men films 5 years after Brett Ratner tried to destroy it with X-Men Last Stand. So excellent job. Bryan Singer coming back to the...
Didn't like First Class.
Actually, I don't know if Bryan Singer directed that. I'm not sure if he did, actually.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Singer did not.
He did Days of Futures Past, though. He did.
Yes, he did.
Which is also on our
list.
list.
Supposed return to form.
Yeah. Dark Knight Rises, 2012. That was a July 20. So all the Batman movies were traditional summer releases. So summer blockbusters.
Yay, Batman.
This one, this one's a funny one, this next one. And we jump ahead 2 more years.
I doubt I'll laugh.
We have Days of Futures Past. That's not what I'm talking about. That was May 23rd. Again, that was Memorial Day weekend. Anything in the 20s.
Future past. Stop saying futures.
Days of Future Past.
You're saying futures past.
Maybe it sounds like it. I'm trying not to.
You
Try not
are.
to. Okay.
Like it's like Daenerys. Stop doing it.
That's just the meta you talking.
Yeah. And the meta rules, man. Listen to the meta.
August 1st, 2014. Take a guess which film came out.
August 1st, 2014.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy?
You are bing, bing, bing. Okay, not bing for curses, but bing, bing, bing. You are correct, sir. That you can tell. It's amazing, right? Summer used to be the place you would tentpole your movie that you knew was going to do well versus let's hide it so that, if it doesn't do well, who cares? An August release for a movie that I think it's safe to assume no one expected to be as good and as profitable as it was. Spawn, which really, after Avengers, we were kind of like, well, okay, Marvel, you pulled this off sort of, but can you sustain it? And Guardians of the Galaxy was like one of the first entries to really sustain it because Thor: Dark World had come out the year before and it was meh, it was all right. Sorry, Pat Shand, but Guardians of the Galaxy was the first movie to be like, oh, okay, all right, this Marvel thing's for real now, like really for real. Like Avengers was amazing, and it did like legitimize what MCU was doing, but Guardians of the Galaxy proved that okay, Marvel's just making movies now. It's not even about relying on characters we even know. So that's an epic blockbuster. June 29th, 2015. Ant-Man. Nice entry. Good film.
I'm not going to help you there.
You didn't like Ant-Man?
I loved Ant-Man.
Good film.
Mm-hmm. But you're always a little condescending about it. So
Ant-Man 2. I'm not a big fan of Ant-Man 2. 2016 was a big summer superhero summer, to repeat myself. But look at the two entries we ended up having over the summer. X-Men Apocalypse, Memorial Day weekend. Oh, poor Oscar Isaac. A 47% on Rotten Tomatoes. Apocalypse, this is one of the reviews. Apocalypse looks like another superhero movie that can't live up to the supremacy of Disney's releases in the genre.
And it's true.
Followed by...
They made Apocalypse look like Augustus Gloop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Yeah. Suicide Squad, August 5th. So coming out.
Didn't mind Suicide Squad. I understand why it didn't do what it should have done. It really wasn't designed. It really was short hamstring from being able to compete in that market. I mean, by then Disney was just dominating in the market.
Yeah,
they'd up the ante to such an extent that because Suicide Squad would have been a great movie in the 90s when we were coming up. We would have thought that this is the way you do a comic book movie, and then that should testify to the quality of comic.
Right. That's like people who love Greta Van Fleet as a band, and they can overlook the fact they sound like Led Zeppelin because we don't have any other rock bands out there. So I'm gonna love anything that's come out. But Suicide Squad is like if Greta Van Fleet came out in like the 90s when there was a treasure trove of rock bands. Greta gets cheated badly. You could be a Zeppelin ripoff, but here's the thing about it, and that's just all I'm gonna say about it. Yeah,
it ain't easy to rip off Zeppelin.
No,
so even if you are a ripoff artist,
agreed. You're
still punching way above your weight.
Agreed.
Depending on who you're trying to rip off.
Here's the funny thing about them, just as an aside. I actually watched Dan Rather does these interviews on Access TV called The Big Interview with Dan Rather, and he's interviewed a whole bunch of folks. And he interviewed Robert Plant, and they were showing a lot of vintage footage of Zeppelin in concert. And I go, oh my God, like he even ripped off him just standing there. Standing there. Like I watched their Saturday Night Live performance, and I'm just like, man, he doesn't have any energy on stage. And then I watched this Led Zeppelin, and I'm like, oh my God, they just...
What was that other band way back?
Creed.
Late night.
Creed.
That's not even... I'm not...
Creed. Nickelback?
I know. Just shush. I'm trying to think of the actual name of the band I'm talking about. Buck Cherry. Such a blatant Aerosmith wannabe ripoff. It was so blinding.
Creed is more to Greta Van Fleet though than Buck Cherry because Creed was actually also successful.
No, okay, well, No.
Buck Cherry, everyone kind of saw through them pretty quickly.
Yeah, but the problem is Creed. It's arguable with Creed. They're ripping a sound off,
Right.
but it's arguable that that's just the way Scott Stapp sounds. He's not actually trying to. I mean, Buck Cherry was like literally in Aerosmith's cosplay.
Right.
So I mean, it's a blatant ripoff.
Yeah.
Like Silverchair. Silverchair is kind of maybe a Nirvana ripoff, an attempt at a Nirvana ripoff.
The first record. Yeah.
But I mean, like, and they didn't really get too much credit after that first album, though.
Yeah. No, they do. They're one of those underground bands. They're kind of like Nada Surf, which actually has an amazing underground following. They're the ones that came up with the song Popular back in 1996, and that was where they got their initial following. But they're now like one of these respected underground bands. Silverchair actually has a huge underground audience for their final 2 or 3 records.
But all I'm saying is it's arguable.
Yes, right.
That they about their ripoff.
Right.
I mean,
right.
There are bands like Buck Cherry where it's not arguable. Like, no, you guys are blatantly ripping off Aerosmith. So that's the same thing I'll say about Greta.
Right.
Is that it's not? I mean, you are. It's not Dred Zeppelin.
It's funny. Yeah.
which capitalized on being a Zeppelin ripoff, but.
You know what it is? They're young enough where you just kind of hope they just don't know any better. Like they're just like maybe they're not corporately orchestrated.
It's that argument about it's an argument between the Orville and Discovery, right?
Yeah.
So many people dislike the corporatization of Star Trek and CBS putting Star Trek behind a paywall, and then there's other social issues, there's other political issues as to why Discovery is a black sheep. So they exalt the Orville. The Orville gets away with a lot of stuff because it's not Discovery.
Right.
If it was Discovery. If there was no Discovery, would the Orville get away with as much as it gets away with? I
gotta get back into that show.
I'm a fan of the show, by the way. I'm not dismissing the show. But that's the same as Greta Van Fleet. Greta Van Fleet gets away with a lot.
I know.
Because we just don't have good music anymore.
I know.
So we don't care that they're ripping us off.
Shout out to friend of the show, Eric Palicki, who is brothers to Adrian Palicki. Adrian Palicki actually got married to her co-star on The Orville just recently. Happy for those 2 kids.
Seth Green?
No.
McFarlane?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
One of the other guys on The Orville.
One of the other co-stars.
One of the other guys. But congrats to Eric, who has a new brother-in-law. He's very excited about it. All right, moving on to 2017. This is actually a huge
Or gifts at Christmas.
Yeah, right.
Someone new to give you gifts at Christmas.
Spider-Man Homecoming, July 7th, 2017. Atomic Blonde, July 27th, 2017. Not a blockbuster in the largest sense, but it's a superhero-based, it's comic book-based movie. What
was the first one before Atomic Blonde?
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Which is definitely up there. And then, of course, there's a big one. June 2nd. So it came out before both of these. Wonder Woman. It has the highest Metascore of the superhero flicks released that summer. Actually went on Metascore, Metacritic.com. Looked that one up for 2017.
Wonder Woman was a big phenomenon.
Yeah.
It was a very powerful entry into the comic book genre.
2018 had Solo, a Star Wars story, the only Star Wars movie on this countdown. Actually, wait, when did Rogue One come out? Now I'm thinking they came out.
Rogue One came in December.
It did come out in December, right? The only entry in this list for Star Wars, because we're cutting off at 1989, Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yeah, and arguably why the movie didn't do so well is because they took it out of its holiday season.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, July 6th. So we're going to eliminate Ant-Man and the Wasp. It does not even come into the top 5 here. We're just going to give me in the next 2 minutes. We're going to get this down to top 5, and then we're going to throw it out there. And then maybe, just maybe, we have our topic for next year's March Madness. I don't know.
What's your list?
So let's say definite list. Wonder Woman, right? I think that's definite. Spider-Man Homecoming, I think is definite. This is our consideration list. Wonder Woman, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Keep going. Guardians of the Galaxy, I think definitely. Days of Future Past, I think, is qualified enough. Probably won't crack the top 5, but I think it's in consideration. I'm going to bypass the last entry in Christopher Nolan's run. I'm going to put Cap. I'm going to put Cap first Avenger. I think that definitely qualifies in there.
What's your metric for choosing now? Just
what I think based off of how well it did, plus how good it was.
Because depending on what that metric is, it might have done really well, even if you didn't like it.
Yes, I agree, but I'm doing both. I'm categorizing both.
Okay.
As a whole, can we look at it and say what's no, we don't. We ain't got time for that. Dark Knight is number 6. So actually, let me highlight these so I know exactly which ones we're doing here. Do we count Batman Begins or no? I kind of feel like we're going to pick.
How's it fare on your list in the metrics that you set forward to decide?
It's a good movie, but it feels like Ant-Man to me. It's a smaller movie. It's just a good movie. Nothing.
So it's all preference then, because it made enough money.
Oh yeah.
All right, so now we're dealing with your preference.
Yes. Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely dealing with preference. I'm gonna leave it off. Actually, I'll say this. It's part of a trilogy. We're gonna pick the one movie of that trilogy, The Dark Knight, and I think we do a pretty good job of that. Spider-Man 2, June 30th, 2004. I think that one's a definite one to add there. I'm gonna put the original X-Men on that list as well too. That's part of its own trilogy.
Yeah,
out of all the out of the Tim Burton Batmans, or I should say the 90s Batmans, I think we're going to choose the original Batman. So we have whittled this down to Batman, 1989, X-Men, 2000, Spider-Man 2, 2004, The Dark Knight, 2008, Cap First Avenger, 2011, Guardians of the Galaxy, 2014, Days of Future Past, also 2014, Spider-Man Homecoming, and Wonder Woman. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have a top 9. We have a top 9.
Don't you want to throw one more in there so we can have an even 10?
Do you want X-Men First Class?
No.
Dark Knight Rises? Ant-Man?
No.
Suicide Squad?
No.
Atomic Blonde? Ant-Man and Wasp?
No.
Solo?
No.
See, all of a sudden,
you can put Solo on there, but I mean, preferably Solo's one of my favorite movies on that list.
Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah,
I like it too.
Solo on it. So Solo, I'll make it 10.
All right, so we're all in agreement. Solo is number 10 in this list, then.
No, but it is the 10th entry in your list.
Okay,
but it's not number 10.
Solo, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man Homecoming, Days of Future Past, Guardians of the Galaxy, Cap First Avenger, Dark Knight, Spider-Man 2, X-Men, original 1989 Batman. Give me your 5 movies that would be the top 5 out of that 10.
Batman, 1989, Spider-Man 2, Guardians of the Galaxy, Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
That's 4.
Mm-hmm.
And Solo.
Ooh, we're gonna debate on that one. We're gonna debate on that one for sure. So no Dark Knight for you.
No.
I know you don't like that. Okay. See, I think that's where we're gonna differ on this, because I have, same as you, I have.
Dark Knight is a great, great, great movie. It is a terrible superhero movie. And I will make that. I will call that from the hilltops till the day I die.
All right, go through your list one more time. I'm going to compare with my list.
Movie compared to in context of superheroes, it does not believe in superheroism, and so I dislike it. I vehemently dislike it for its meta message. But.
Yeah, I'm going to say my top 5: Wonder Woman. This is tough. Guardians of the Galaxy, Batman, Dark Knight, Spider-Man 2. That's my top 5 in order. What was yours again?
It's in order.
In order.
Batman. Oh, in order?
In order.
In order.
Count it down.
Batman. Okay, Spider-Man 2. Batman. Guardians of the Galaxy. Wonder Woman and Solo.
Wonder Woman and Solo. Okay. Wonder Woman number 2?
I counted from the
Oh,
top.
you went. Oh, you didn't count down. Okay, so wait, count down. So, Solo,
Dude,
Solo number 5.
Yeah, Solo. No. Yeah, Solo 5.
Okay.
Wonder Woman. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
Batman 1989. Spider-Man 2.
So we're in agreement. Spider-Man 2 is the best summer blockbuster of all time. I think that's actually
No, that was not the parameter. It's the best comic book movie summer blockbuster.
Yes, correct. The best comic book movie summer blockbuster. All right, folks, that was our consensus. Those were our 2 lists. We'll type them, click into the stream. Go ahead. We'll actually do that, and we want to hear what you think. What is your top 5 comic book movie summer blockbusters of all time? Keep it within Memorial Day to Labor Day, 1989 to the present. We obviously will find out which movies in 2019 get added to this list, but not until starting next week. All right, when we come back, my interview with rocker Ben Folds. Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. Secrets of the Sire is brought to you by all of our beloved patrons: new fan Craig Caruso, dedicated fans Einar Peterson, Matt Beyer, Ashley Haikai, Omar Morales, our program director Stephanie Dolce, and as always, our Uber fan Christina Dolce. Go to patreon.com/Secrets of the Sire. And of course, as we've been pushing all episode long, if you go to youtube.com/Secrets of the Sire, please subscribe. We actually enjoy everything, even the thumbs down. All right, I got the privilege to interview rocker Ben Folds of Ben Folds 5. It was a tremendous interview. I'm allowed to show it now, and I'm happy to share it all with you guys. Thank you for taking some time out to talk. Really appreciate it. First question I have, what was the impetus behind the new tour? How did you guys hook up with Cake? So just kind of, walk me through that.
Those things are. I like Cake, and it was an idea that the booking agents had, and Cake and I, go back a long way.
So it's definitely, something you guys have been toying with for a while.
Yeah, I guess it just makes a lot of sense. There are a few of my contemporaries I really, really respect and would always go out and work with, do a thing with, have a beer, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're on that very short list. So it hasn't been. I think the thing is with bands, we stay out touring and do a lot of different things, and they just kind of come around. There wasn't any really good story behind it.
No, just one of those things. It's funny because
I didn't run into them over frozen pizzas at Whole Foods or something, and we said, "Wow, we should do this."
It's funny because a lot of bands these days are doing like the team up. Like I know Coheed and Cambria are going to be playing with Take Back Sunday, and I just did an interview a few weeks ago with another band. It seems like the team up is a popular thing that's happening with a lot of bands that kind of emerged out of the 90s.
Well, that's something that's been going on. The original rock shows in the 50s were usually 8 bands.
Mm-hmm.
By the 60s, they got down to about 4 bands.
Yeah.
It's been more the exception that bands would go out just on their own, since marketing and technology and has allowed for that. So it's really not. I don't really even see it as a trend. I think it's something that bands do in the summer. In my entire career, it has been unthinkable for a band below the level of like Lady Gaga at her height to go out in something that wasn't a package. So it's just what you do. I mean, basically, I've done a couple of summers where I've actually gone out and just toured myself, and it was at the behest of everyone I worked with. Yeah. So it's kind of, it's sort of compulsory. There's almost no story in that one. But yeah, I mean, we're going out, and I prefer not to. I'm very, very picky about going out with bands from my era. I don't want to go out. I don't want to go out like a fucking heritage act, teaming up with the guys to relive the magic and the good old days. I'm not into that. In fact, I would have probably toured this summer with a bass and drums, but by going out with Cake, it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to do something different. Like I said, I'm going to continue on into the future if we're going to do this together. So yeah, I've got a bass harmonica player who's the bassist, and a cello, guitar, and a cocktail drum set. So
very cool.
It's going to be a little unusual.
Very cool. So, I mean, who decides, who goes on first, who, all that stuff? Is there some...
Well, I mean, I insisted on going on first because I'm Cake is going out in a Coliseum ready format. They're going out there in that way, and this is what they do. Period. And so I'm thinking that that's the best way to end the night. I wouldn't have done it any other way.
Yeah. So take me back a little bit. One of the things that always kind of struck me, was when you made the shift from being Ben Folds 5 to just Ben Folds. And I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but I mean, to me it's kind of funny because your name is in the moniker to begin with. So
well, it was a band, and all bands are. Some bands are one person with a band name. Like 9 Inch Nails or something.
Yeah.
And then some are one guy's name, but it's so obviously a band. So ours was somewhere in between, but it was enough. Ben Folds 5 was enough of a band that that it needed to be recognized, as a name. And when I continued without the two guys, Robert Darren, the bass drummer, are absolute artists in their own right. And so when I continued, I needed to take that off of and retire that jersey.
That makes sense. What can fans kind of expect in terms of a set list for this tour? Are you going to be arranging the solo stuff? Are you going to be doing Ben Folds 5 stuff? Like, what can fans expect?
Almost without exception, I go out on tour. I play anything and everything that I've written. So that's kind of what I mean. I never concentrate on one era. Even with a new album, I've mostly still run the gamut. I'm interested in how my songs age. Actually, I don't really tire them. I think they kind of subtly reinvent themselves. I don't feel that I have to play anything specific. There are some people of an older generation who would think that I had to play Brick. I don't really play it that often. There are people who came on board like around the Rock in the Suburbs time, which is now kind of old school. They don't really think about the song Brick that much because they're on another plane, so they're confused when someone thinks that needs to be played. So it's kind of it's awesome about the era. Now what I feel like I've earned, I can go out and play anything. It doesn't matter, but I do like to play a span of my material. That's the quickest way to answer that is from the beginning to now is what I play.
Well, it's funny you mentioned it, and I'm a big fan of segues. It segues really great into my next question, which was, you do kind of span 2 decades in a way. I mean, I remember listening to you in college in the 90s, and then you kind of had with the Rockin' in the Suburbs, that's a mid-2000s. you kind of had a resurgence there. I mean, what's the attendance like age wise in your group, in your crowd when you go, and how does that kind of?
All over the shop because I do a lot of orchestra work.
Yeah.
And that is a different fan base altogether.
Yeah.
I mean, that is becoming its own thing. And that can actually go down to quite young as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all over the shop, Like, it's not... I don't feel my career has been dependent or even welcome in the mainstream for most of my career.
Yeah.
So I'm not in a club. I don't get the approval of mainstream magazines or television or radio or anything like that. And at the same time, there's nothing weird about what I do.
Sure.
So I don't sit in that place like Tom Waits or somewhere. I was like, oh, he's not mainstream. He's not experimental. Then it's like, well, my music's normal. There's nothing weird about it at all. It's fairly accessible stuff. So if it's not in the mainstream, maybe it's not very good. But then it turns out it's pretty good too. So the whole, it just puts me in a weird. I'm just in my own little category, which I enjoy. That's what I've asked for, and it's a lonely spot, but that's what I do. So I look out and I see, I see fucking 13, 15-year-old kids. I see college kids. I see people my age and people up to 75 or 80 years old I've seen in the audience now. So it's just all over the shop. Yeah.
Wow. So it was mentioned you run a master class before shows. What exactly is that, and what how does that work?
Well, this is it's a we'll call it a glorified question and answer discussion session. Which is actually what it is, but it's a discussion about music. The attendees are welcome to run the discussion, have questions, things they want to talk about. There was a period of time where our main focus was the National Endowment for the Arts.
Okay.
Because the funding was threatened with the new political wave last year, and it always is. So it's good for people to know about. People did that, but and there have been school teachers. I've brought in local school teachers to talk music, the things that I would have wanted when I was appreciated my favorite songwriters to have reported on where they were. Like what's it like after you've been touring for that? Like what? How did you do that? Like how did that work out? And disappointments and the train wrecks that you're selling. But I think it's important for people who are struggling to realize that it's not going to get much struggling. And I think that's actually inspiring. Yeah, it's what I've been working on in my book. Like I'm writing a book. It comes out in 2019, and a lot of it does touch on some of the stuff that people are interested in from these classes.
Well, it's funny you mentioned you're writing a new book. The last music that your bibliography kind of has is from 2015. Is there new music coming out? Is there Ben Folds music? Is there anything that you're working on, or is the album kind of kind of dead to you in a way? I mean, it's for a lot of artists, it's not as interesting to do an album because it's also not as profitable.
Well, that's the thing. I think more than it's not profitable, because they've never been that profitable, even for the real successful artists. It's a little. It's a fairly well kept secret that the album itself is not a profitable thing. It generates other profitable things. But I think the thing about one comment I would have about the music business and the sort of the starving out of the genre of the album, or the institution of the album, is the utter unavailability of funds to make one with. Yeah. And with technology, you can make them cheap. But you can make a certain kind of record cheap. Yeah. And I'm not as inspired to try to dig up a bunch of funds from somewhere, call in a bunch of favors, Pro Tools the living fuck out of the music in order to make it work. That's not terribly inspiring to me. So I see all these other things that are, like I'm the artistic advisor to the National Symphony Orchestra in Kennedy Center for the next, I guess I got another year left on my contract. And I spend a lot of my time doing that. So orchestrating and working with orchestras. And I've found that inspiring.
Yeah.
I haven't found the idea of making the record as inspiring, but I'm going to make one. That said, I've got too many tunes and things running around in my head.
Yeah. What kind of pop culture are you consuming these days? Are you into the Marvel movies, the DC movies, or are you into any of this stuff that's going on?
Not really, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never really thrived on that. Probably the closest I get to pop culture and entertainment is the news.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
Which is, that's its own thing, and it's probably a pretty shameful thing to admit. But no, I've never really been like, people, I'll be seated in a van with a lot of people who are consuming all the great stuff, TV shows and movies and comics and books, and I'm not really on the same wavelength with any of that. I wish I was. I never had anything to talk about because of that. I think podcasts are great. I think that's actually a really that's a great thing. Like, it's a good thing that you do it. It's a great thing that's done.
Yeah, it's fun actually. I'm a writer by trade, so the podcasting was an extension of that, and it's just a chance to kind of talk about things and discuss things. So it's kind of cool. What do you do like when you have time off? I mean, what's occupying your time then?
I don't have it. I don't have that. I really don't. I mean, that's of my own. That's my fault. But I don't have it. Like no violins or anything for me. But I don't have it.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. Cool. Well, have a terrific show. If I can make it down there, I will. If I can make a recommendation, love Alice Childress and love Song for the Dump. So hopefully you break those two out there.
All right, thanks, man. And good luck with the kids, and so many years you'll be the guy that says, "Well, I don't really keep up with pop culture."
This is true. This
All
is
right,
true.
Well, have fun with that.
Thanks very much, Ben.
All right, man. See you.
Take care. Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. Again, we talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture. An amalgam of comic book movies. That's comic book movie culture. Ooh, Hassan.
What?
Comic book movie culture. Ooh, that's a game changer. That's a game changer for everything we do. All right, we do this every week. We go spinning the racks.
Spin the rack, spin that rack.
Game of Thrones fans / critics petition Benioff and Weiss not to ruin Star Wars. Thousands of critics of the just ended final season of Game of Thrones have signed petitions to keep its two showrunners from making the next Star Wars film as planned. This is from NewYorkPost.com. Putting the Game of Thrones writers in charge of Star Wars is not only a controversial decision, but a mistake, plain and simple, reads one petition on change.org, which had been signed by nearly 12,000 people by Saturday night. Meanwhile, a similar petition, this one on thepetitionsite.com, was nearing its goal of 6,000 signatures. Like many Game of Thrones fans, I was dismayed at how the last season was written. It felt rushed and sloppy. But now I'm really worried because I just learned the next Star Wars movie will be made by the same people. Disney announced earlier this month it will produce 3 more Star Wars films, which will reach theaters starting in 2022, with Benioff and Weiss writing and producing.
No, I'm hungry. I want rice.
Do we all just got too much free time?
I want Benioff and rice. It sounds like a wonderful meal. It's like
that's the priciest one. That's the priciest one.
Yeah, that is like I don't know, steak tartare.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Beef stroganoff. Yeah. Look, fandom is a shit show. Fandom is a terrible clown show. It really is. It's a terrible experience. It's what we were talking about meta.
Yeah.
And people deciding that because I didn't get what I want, I could just do it. I could have it done over again instead of not liking the way a story took a turn or not liking changes.
I just think people are so used to that. Yeah, pressing that undo button. That it's just part of your culture now at this point. I think it's funny.
It's detrimental because they're trying to apply it to art, and it's not going to fit with art.
Yeah.
You know what? To be honest with you, and this is a terrible thing for you people to learn. Artists, excuse me, here comes another bad word. Artists don't give a shit about your opinions, really. And I pre-announced it. You don't have to Bing it when I pre-announce it.
No. We Bing it. We Bing all. We Bing all.
No, your Bing is not a Bing. It's just you saying Bing. You want to apply a sound effect to it, that would be funnier. But you just saying Bing doesn't work. But anyway, no, it doesn't. But anyway,
I'll add that in post.
What a waste of this is a whole waste of discussion. The bottom line is that the Bells and the Iron Throne, the last two episodes, are the highest rated TV shows in HBO history.
Right.
And that's all they care about. That's all the studios care about. That's all Disney cares about, is how much money they brought in with their product. Now, as far as creatively, we can question some of the creative decisions they made as creators. As far as book lovers and as pertaining to adaptations, it's arguable that they made great adaptations until they ran out of material, and then they made poor adaptations, or they made poor interpretations after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
It's arguable, all that stuff. As far as it pertains to casual fans, the season sucked. People didn't like it. But here's the point. As pertains to the people who matter, who are people who are spending money, they had the highest rated, greatest show on earth all the way up to their last episode.
Right.
There was not a ratings drop off. There was not a prescription.
No jump the shark moment.
No,
that set people.
The series is a barnstorming success.
Right.
Pertaining to everybody else. So much so that in the rumor mill, because we don't have confirmation of all of them yet.
All right.
And there's so much so that in the rumor mill, there's 5 spin-off shows.
Right.
So, and one of them that we know for a fact is actually filming. Who knows what we'll be able to see it or not. That all depend on the way the fates turn out.
We keep saying this.
Nobody cares about the 16,000, 20,000, even 1 million. If 18 million people or 19 million people saw the last episode of Game of Thrones, and 1.5 million signed a petition to have the season redone, you're done. Your numbers are minuscule. Your numbers are non-existent to these people. And I don't understand. I understand it's like a fan revolt, and and they had the one victory they think of Solo. They believe they've tanked Solo.
Right.
They're still talking in the kinetosphere that they have tanked Solo. That the protests work, the boycotts work.
Right.
And there's so many metrics that can go to the failed success of Solo that you can't even base it on any one thing. It's probably a perfect storm of many things.
Right.
The fact that the last blockbuster $1 billion Star Wars movie was only 6 months prior.
Right.
So it just didn't work. So, and I mean, look, in any other normal movie, Solo would be a success. It's just not a Star Wars movie. So, I mean, these people have failed. They fail every time, and they just won't stop. This is their own way of, of pulling a temper tantrum. I'm serious. I'm sorry. Look at Captain Marvel. There are literally hundreds, 500 at last count, videos on how Captain Marvel will tank because of the controversy beyond Brie Larson. It won't do well. It'd be the MCU's first flop. It won't be a good movie. I mean, it's arguable whether the movie was good or not. We can have that discussion. I will have a very candid and honest discussion with you about whether I thought the movie was good or not.
Mm-hmm.
You can't argue it was a $1 billion movie. Marvel doesn't care whether a movie was good or not. They care they made $1 billion off of it. So I don't understand what these. I don't get what these people think they're going to accomplish. The show's over. You didn't like the way it ended. I'm sorry. I didn't like the way Dexter ended or Lost or a number of other movies. I didn't try to, I didn't try to get the Infinity Stones together so I could snap it all away. It's not the way it happens. We just move on and hope that the next thing meets our fancy.
The bottom line is we just got another thumbs down on our YouTube page.
Why? Because of that rant?
Because of you.
Yeah, well, good. You sometimes it's best to be known for your enemies. If those people hate me for my opinion, I'm happy about it.
Next week, come back for more of those opinions, as we do every week. Next week, we talk Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Godzilla? Did you just say
No, I said Godzilla. You
said Godzilla.
Godzilla?
Which I would actually rather go see Godzilla. That's a hell of a band name.
We are also welcoming Jamie Twarkowski, who is of the Mental Health Comedy Tour. He's going to talk about his great benefit set of comedy acts, including Joe Matarese, who's headlining it. It's touring the country right now. Important stuff, awesome stuff. We will see you next week.
Secrets of the Sun.